What is up, guys? My name is William, and I wanted to make a series of videos about my car that I just bought. I bought it last Tuesday. Today is it's actually been a full week since I've owned this vehicle. It's a 2001 BMW 540i Sport. I wanted to make a series of videos though, showing what it's like to actually own a BMW, let alone owning a BMW while on a budget. Myself, I'm pretty young still. I'm only 20. I still live with my sister. She helps me out with like rent and whatnot. So I'm not fully living on my own. I don't make a lot of money, but the persona of owning a BMW is don't, people say don't own them. They're so expensive to fix, and parts are ridiculously overpriced, and when one thing goes wrong, it's always like worst case scenario. So I wanted to highlight that is it really true that BMWs are high maintenance, cost is really high? But for this first video, I wanted to review my BMW that I had just bought. It is in kept really good condition. The guy that I bought it from, he actually was a previous owner. He is the owner of a European mechanic shop. So I was really confident in my buy that, things were kept clean. When something went wrong, he fixed it right away. He didn't let, like the timing chain guides go to where it would really ruin the motor. He didn't have any service records, but that's because he's the owner and it was his personal vehicle. So he told me he did the timing chain guides and the timing and all of that. Just before I bought it from him, he put the window back on its track. He detailed it. He fixed some water leaks and all that. Right now, this car is just about to turn over to 170,000 miles, which is not super high, but it's not super low either, considering this kind of vehicle. Car enthusiasts love this vehicle, and now that I've been driving it for a week, I understand why. This car feels so good and so quick and responsive. The only downside to this vehicle, this one in particular, is has some really shitty tires. It was sprinkling earlier, and I was barely even getting on it, and I was getting swirly with traction control on, that just tells me the tires are really bad. It's some shitty knockoffs. But for this first video, I wanted to review the vehicle. I did buy this car for $4,000, which is below what they're going for typically on the market here in California, but it's also not super cheap and not overpriced. The interior of this vehicle is in great shape. Like I said, I've only owned it for 1 week. I have a buddy who owns a 540 as well. I told him that my cup holders were broken, which is very typical in these vehicles. He had a spare one that just is missing like the corner piece. So at least I have working cup holders, but there is just one little plastic piece that is exposing a screw. Other than that, this vehicle is in really good kept condition. I'm going to show you the inside and under the hood, and I will be back in just a moment. So like I was saying about the cup holder, the other one that came with the car was actually completely broken. These little tabs came off, which is very typical. But this one that my buddy gave me, it is just missing this corner piece right here. So it exposes the screw, which, it's better than non-working cup holders. The only things that I have noticed with this vehicle is that the pixels are dying out as well as the radio. The pixels are worse, I feel like, on the radio. I'm gonna get that fixed. Let's step outside of the vehicle, the hood, but we can look at the interior a little bit more. The only issue is this little spot on the driver's seat, which is obviously going to be most used. Let's shut this up. It came with 2 keys. This key actually is the key that works. The key fob actually works, which I'm surprised. I hate the diamond keys. But yeah, it's really clean in here. The interior is really nice and whatnot. And actually, if we unlock all the doors, this will catch you guys by surprise. My seats fold down. So that's actually really, really rare for this kind of vehicle, for the seat to be foldable. So yeah, the exterior is this really nice looking blue. I actually own a 3 Series that is the same blue. The only thing is this little issue right here. Looks like somebody backed into something. But it's a true 540 for $4,000. Everything works on it besides the moonroof, which is pretty typical. But we can look under the hood. So the guy detailed it quite a bit. He painted everything. Nothing is really wrong with it, as far as I can tell. My father, he's a mechanic as well. He said there's nothing really wrong with it. There is a piece, I think, right here maybe. I'm not entirely sure where the fan shroud is broken. Father said that's pretty typical of these vehicles. They break quite easily. They also noticed that I have a water-cooled, I forget what it's called, but a water-cooled alternator, which is very expensive to replace. But overall, this car is really nice. It's that you hardly ever see this blue, and for only 4K, you know, that was quite the deal. And like I was saying, I'm really satisfied with this buy, but I've only owned the car for a week, so I want to prove if, you know, BMWs really are expensive to own, which I know they can be. I've seen it before, but people are so afraid to buy them because they're like, oh, don't buy it, parts are expensive, blah blah blah. But I wanted to know for myself what it's like to own a 540, let alone any BMW, on a budget. So for right now, I've only owned the vehicle for a week, like I've said before. I showed you the pixels on the cluster and the radio, which are very typical in this car. So right now, the only things that I'm going to do to it, this car is pretty much completely stock. I'm going to do the cluster and the radio. I've found a company that charges like $250 or so for both, which is really good. This car actually has mufflers on it still, so I want to do a muffler delete, just take the mufflers off, make it a little bit meaner sounding, a little bit more, you know, loudness to the V8 so you can like hear it. I'll possibly do also a short shifter on this. In my 3 Series I put in a short shifter, and the difference between driving this car and that car is the short shifter. It feels so much better with the short shifter. I'm just not sure if I'm gonna do it quite yet. The other thing I gotta do is get the windshield window seal put in. The guy gave me the window seal for the windshield. I just gotta get that put in, but other than that, it's nothing really like maintenance wise. That's all like luxury things. I mean, like the cluster kind of is maintenance wise, but you should never really have to, you know, service your cluster. So I'm gonna classify that as a luxury thing. But I'm gonna do videos periodically, probably when something goes wrong, to show you what it's actually like to be on a budget and own a BMW, let alone a V8 BMW. Um, yeah, so just keep checking back on my YouTube channel to see how the 540 is going. I might do some videos on my 3 Series. Like I said, it's the same color as this vehicle, which is what turned me on to this vehicle a lot as well. Um, so yeah, my name has been William, and I will catch you guys later.